human foot?
And it's a little bit of a leg, too.
Why do you have that?
Well, since all the humans are now extinct, I thought maybe their body parts would become valuable.
You think someone's going to pay you for a severed foot?
Hey, you never know. There's some robots into some weird things.
Yeah, okay. You know what that severed foot makes me think of?
What's that?
Have you seen the movie The Bad Batch?
The Bad Batch. I don't think so.
Well, let's watch it.
The chaos of this world is vast and unknowable. We like to think we can understand it. But we can't.
Featuring cannibalism, amputees, desert rave parties, and fluffy little bunnies, The Bad Batch is a new film about something. Follow a girl named after the town and king of the hill as she navigates a harsh desert wasteland and goes head-to-head with Khal Drogo himself. So what did you think of The Bad Batch?
Wow, that was a weird movie. I thought it was weird that I was holding a severed leg, but this movie is very weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to process all my thoughts about it. It had some very familiar elements. There was some Mad Max-ness to it, trying to survive in a quasi-post-apocalyptic desert world. But that said, it was really weirder than Mad Max, which is saying a lot because Mad Max is some weird shit.
In addition to what you just said, at least with the new Mad Max Fury Road, it also had the female protagonist who was sort of a rebel on her own and didn't want to be a part of the society. And in addition to that, it also had not very much dialogue, and it let a lot of the scenery establish the mood.
Yeah, the lack of dialogue made me think a lot of a Nicholas Winding Refn film, like Drive. I guess tonally, I was trying to decide what this movie was. I mean, I guess you would say it's an art film as its genre more than anything else.
So let's just start with the premise. The main young, white, blonde girl gets dropped off. She's been inducted into some sort of society called the Bad Batch, which presumably is because she broke some law. And now she's in some sort of long-term prison. That's what this is.
Right. It's very Escape from New York. We've cordoned off this area, and we just throw all the bad people in it together, and whatever happens in there happens in there.
And she's Bad Batch number 4028, or whatever her number was. And she gets dropped off, and she has to walk through some empty desert, and immediately she gets captured by cannibals. She runs from them. It's a really engaging scene. She gets knocked out. So she wakes up, and there's a lady there injecting her arm full of some sort of chemical. And the next thing we know, she's sawing an arm off. She's falling out of consciousness and she's coming back in. Things are blurry. And then she's cutting off the leg. And from there, revenge ensues.
Yeah, I thought for a while that this was going to be mostly a revenge movie about taking revenge on the people who took her arm and her leg, but it's only that for a little while, and it's a lot of other weird things too. A lot of it centers around sort of Keanu Reeves as the head of this settlement, Comfort.
Right, you've got the cannibalism settlement, and then you've got the Comfort settlement, with which Keanu Reeves' character is the warlord.
But they didn't do a lot of warlordy things with him. He's not Immortan Joe. We don't see him killing a bunch of people or doing all these cruel things. He's almost more like some sort of rave acid cult leader. And then all his harem of wives all wear these t-shirts. And his name is The Dream. And all their t-shirts say, "I found the dream."
The dream is inside me, because they're all pregnant.
But I'm trying to tell whether it was just a collection of random or whether there were some subtler themes there that maybe you pick up on a second watching.
So again, we've got these two societies, the cannibalism society and this other society that's a lot more organized, but no one really has a job. There's occasionally some people who are food vendors, but there's a lot of people who just don't do anything. And then Keanu Reeves hosts these massive rave parties where he hands out free drugs. And so in a lot of ways, it seems like that's going to be the more civilized society. There's enough food, there's working sanitation. But our main character, right, she's not happy here either. She's not getting her limb sawed off, but she has to decide which is the worst of two evils.
And at some point, Keanu Reeves asks her, "Where would you rather be?" Which she doesn't ever answer, and I'm not 100% sure what we're supposed to take away from that either.
Well, one of the things I really enjoyed about her character is they did not make her smart. If anything, they made her a regular dumb human, which was great. She didn't know where Cuba was. She doesn't know how to follow basic logic. It was great.
The whole film had a very surreal quality to it. Her being a little less than intelligent almost went into that because you quit trying to see the logic of this world because you realize your protagonist can't follow it. And then, of course, there's a protracted sequence where she's tripping on acid.
What it must be like a human on hallucinogenic drugs. I wonder if this was a good representation.
I figure it's a bit like when your circuits glitch a little bit. Hard to say. Yeah, so the whole film had a very surreal quality to it. And then again, there was so little dialogue, and there were a lot of montage sequences that had a lot of music over them that would really take over. And so it had a certain disconnected quality between those things. And a lot of it revolves around this little girl, the child of one of the cannibals, Aquaman.
I felt like that part of the story didn't really add a whole lot. It was just there to bring these two characters together. The Suki Waterhouse main girl character and the Jason Momoa Dothraki character, so that there are these two people who obviously live in two different worlds, but they forged some sort of unlikely alliance by trying to find his daughter. And that, I feel like, was just the impetus to move the story.
So you see this film overall, through all the surreality and brutality and cannibalism, you saw it mostly as the sort of unlikely buddy film?
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I can say that. I can see that as one interpretation. The one other thing I have to say about the character who I felt like really brought everything together and maybe had a lot more symbolism behind him was the homeless drifter Jim Carrey character.
That was Jim Carrey?
It was.
Whoa, totally didn't realize that was Jim Carrey.
So he is this drifter who goes between worlds. He moves between the cannibalism world, between comfort. He transports her when she's escaped the initial one. He transports her to comfort. He has a lot of personality. He laughs. He doesn't really talk a lot.
I thought we were supposed to get that he was missing his tongue. I might have been reading that in just because of the nature of this world. But yeah, he brought a lot of the humor and a lot of the heart to the film that otherwise would probably really have been lacking. Okay, so let me ask you a slightly bigger picture question, which is, at the end of the day, what do you think this movie was about?
I think it was an art house film which really succeeded in putting together this moody, visually stimulating, violent, and graphic, but also, but to me it was lacking on the real substance of the story.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. It's a real puzzler, and again, I wonder if there was some symbolism in there, but there were a lot of things to enjoy about this film. It had a bold tone, there was some surprising laughs, and you find yourself connecting with some unlikely characters in a surprising way. So, how at the end of the day would you rate this film?
I would rate The Bad Batch. I'm wavering between Burning Human ratings. Even though I have a half of a human right here, I'm not ready to give ratings that are half humans, like 1.5 humans. So for this review, I'm going to give it 4 burning humans.
Yeah, this is a very hard one to rate. I guess I'm going to go with 3 burning humans, but with the caveat that if I were to watch it again in the future, I may get more out of it, or I may realize that it's more hollow than I thought it was. The Bad Batch.